Hi everybody, my name is Keegan Cooper and this is Story Behind the Story. This week we talked to Corey about some Harry Potter culture, we'll catch up with Justin on some Bearcat football, and later on we'll talk to Rachel about Our Vision Matters. First we got Corey joining us, talk about Harry Potter. Harry Potter, love it. Love it.
Me too.
So why did you choose to write about Harry Potter?
Crimes of Grindelwald is coming out, and like you, I also grew up on Harry Potter. I mean, I'm the same age as Harry Potter. It came out just a few months before I did, and it was just so interesting to see, like, it's still it's still palpable in our pop culture.
Most definitely. I mean, we started first book by J.K. Rowling debuted in June 24th, 1997, and 21 years later we're still here talking about it.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book?
Definitely Order of the Phoenix. My favorite character, Luna Lovegood, pops up. It has some of my favorite plot twists. Love it.
Yeah. And how does this affect pop culture? I mean, still today. I mean, it started in 1997, and we're still here, 2018, and it's still,
Yeah. Well, one girl who I interviewed, Kirsten, she put it pretty eloquently. It's one of the first things that our generation got into, and we weren't afraid to show that we were really into it. We were really obsessed with it, and a lot of its effects are still felt today. I mean, you could go into Google and type in Harry Potter crossovers, and you'll see a Harry Potter crossover with almost any other fandom. It was one of the first fandoms or fan bases that our generation really got into. We still have movies and books coming out. There was a play. It's just everywhere.
What's kind of the preference? We see Deathly Hallows for Harry Potter kind of in that series, but then we see this pick up. And what does that kind of entail?
It's definitely just kind of setting up a lot of things for Harry Potter to actually happen. It's about the tales of Newt Scamander, who wrote the book Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which would eventually become required reading for students at Hogwarts. And it's just his adventures in America. We see more of the wizarding world and not just Great Britain, because we have the American school. They talk a lot more about Beauxbatons and Durmstrang, who do make an appearance in the original series. But it sets up with how people, certain people get the Elder Wand, and just kind of sets up a lot of that backstory that we didn't get.
We see some movies going before Harry Potter happened to kind of explain it a little bit more. Do you think ever in the future we'd see stuff after, Harry's children?
I mean, we already have with Cursed Child, which is the Broadway play. And a lot of people, it's really kind of controversial in the fandom because people are like, oh, it's not canon, this never really happened. Personally, I think it's canon at this point. I mean, J.K. had a hand in writing it. But we do get to see a little bit of that. Harry's son doesn't end up in Gryffindor. He ends up in Slytherin, actually.
Which is, that plot twist. It's crazy. I know, though, that I am super excited. I grown up on Harry Potter, and I absolutely love it. Yeah. I'm looking forward to going and seeing it. Probably going to have to reread all the books and watch all the movies, but, we'll say that for another day.
Yes.
But thanks for joining me, Corey. Thanks for talking about some Harry Potter culture. It's awesome, and if you've never watched it or never read the books, I highly recommend doing it because it's an amazing series. We'll take a short break with Story Behind the Story, and we'll be right back with some more. Hi everybody, welcome back. This is Story Behind the Story. I'm Keegan. Joining us next, we have Justin here to talk about some Bearcat football. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good. We never want to see a season come to an end, but unfortunately, we saw Northwest lose in the regional semifinal against Fair State. What was the deciding factor that stood out for Northwest to make them lose a game, and then for Fair State to give them the edge?
Well, it's kind of Fair State kind of came out and just kind of punched them in the mouth with an early shot. Early on, they got the ball to start the game, and they did a little halfback pass that went for about 70 yards, and ended up scoring on that drive. Ended up scoring on their next two drives, went up 20-0, and from that point on, it was just too far for Northwest to kind of come back. They fought throughout the rest of the game to get back into the game, ended up being 27-21, so they were right there. Had an opportunity to maybe go down and either tie it or win it with about 13 or 14 seconds left. Got an onside kick after scoring a touchdown to put it within 6, and then a couple plays later, Braden got sacked and fumbled, and that kind of ended the game and ended the season for them. So overall, it was a disappointing day. They didn't play well. Gave up 608 yards on the defensive side. Gave up 608 yards, which is the most they've ever given up.
And I know it's hard, because the season's over, but the off season is always a big thing. And I know, can we hope to see, future games against Ferris State and against, other universities that we might meet up with, in the playoffs, preparing for the multiple quarterbacks or preparing for different options instead of just preparing for that one? Can we hope to see that, hopefully?
Well, normally you go into a game, especially in the playoffs, because you've got tape on the other teams. You got a lot of tape. Up to that point, it was, I think, 12 games that they had tape on Ferris State, and all of those 12 games, Jaru Campbell, their quarterback, had played, and he was one of the leading candidates for the Small College Player of the Year award, the Harlan Hill Award, and he had put up 43 touchdowns total, so he was a threat that they had to prepare for, and they didn't know heading into that week. So obviously you prepare for the team as a whole, how they run, but when you don't have that knowledge that they're going to switch up their system, it's kind of hard to prepare for anything else. So I think they prepared the best way they could. Offensively, you've just got to prepare to play the way that you play. I mean, you can't change your style a lot depending on what the defense. You've got to just come in and do what you know you can do good. They didn't run the ball very well, which is something that Ferris State's size up front gave them troubles with. Their offensive line averaged over 300 pounds, and their defensive line was nearly as big. So they had a lot of trouble running the ball, winning on the line of scrimmage. But in the off season, moving forward, this will be the first time Coach Wright has had a quarterback, from one season to the next. The last year he had to deal with, not knowing for sure who the quarterback was, and this year they knew who it was, but he hadn't played before. So this will be the first time that Coach Wright will have a quarterback that has been there with him and he's played. So it'll be a continued growth, hopefully, for Braden and the rest of the offense, and hopefully they can, find the guys they need to fill those defensive gaps and hopefully come back just as strong next season.
And with those guys leaving, do you think that we'll be able to find the guys and fill those newer guys will step up and kind of fill the spot and keep Northwest, up at the top?
One thing that'll help is they're getting a corner/safety back, and Jacob Gaspin. He should be ready for fall camp. He, got hurt early in the season and didn't play the rest of the season. So his recovery process, he said, is going well. They're hoping to have him ready by fall camp. So that'll help fill the secondary position a little bit. He also said they're going to look outside in a couple positions, the safeties being one of them, and trying to go out and maybe get a couple transfers or something like that. But also, he says they've got guys that they think they're ready to step up and ready to take that next step in the program.
Well, I know I'm always excited about Bearcat football, even though it's the off season. They're going to be out there working, and they're going to come back and be ready for next season. We see 19 seniors leaving, had a great season. Super excited, super proud of them. That Bearcat pride really runs through for everybody. But look forward to the off season, getting that work done, and then to next season, you kind of look forward to that. Thanks for stopping by and talking to me today, Justin. We're always ready for some Bearcat football, always ready for that.
Yep.
We're going to take a short break with Story Behind the Story, and we'll be right back with some more. Welcome back. My name is Keegan Cooper. Joining us next, we have Rachel. She's here to talk to us about the Our Vision Matters Northwest policy that's kind of going to be going into effect. How are you doing, Rachel?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. So let's talk a little bit about what does the policy, Northwest policy, state that's kind of going into effect?
Right. So Northwest has proposed a new student organization conduct policy, which is basically just a set of rules and policies that all organizations that are formally recognized as a campus organization are going to follow. Currently, they're following the Student Conduct Code. There's three different executive boards that student organizations fall under. It's the Student Conduct Code, the Panhellenic Council, and IFC. So they're just taking out the three different options and making it into one.
And the purpose of this is probably put everybody in an equal playing field. We got one set of rules for everybody to follow. It kind of makes everybody, to understand everything easier. So we're not having one organization over here following this set of rules and then another one over there following another one.
Right. It's basically a risk mitigation factor for the university, so that way they have something that they follow, a standard, a process that they can fall back to when necessary.
What are the students voicing that are their concerns? I know there's like 3 or 4 things that they were really, trying to put out there and voice.
So the students started this Our Vision Matters, which is basically a social push on Twitter, and it gives a platform for students to voice their opinion about the proposed policy, and they have highlighted 4 main areas of concern within the proposed policy. 1 being unequal representation on those student conduct hearing boards. 2, minimal amnesty granted to organizations. The 3rd one is campus strict probation, which is a punishment for organizations, and they don't agree with using recruitment as a punishment. And the fourth one being, it's slipping my mind, what is the fourth one?
You know, students are voicing their opinion. It's a good thing. You know, you want the students to be involved on the campus, kind of voicing their opinion and getting it
double
out there.
jeopardy is the fourth one.
Double
Excuse
jeopardy.
me, yes,
No,
double
you're
jeopardy.
good. You're good. Double jeopardy. Okay, but it's nice. It's good to see them voicing their opinion. And I know Student Senate had some comments about this. What did Student Senate kind of have to say about, you know, this policy, and then students kind of voicing their opinion?
So Student Senate kind of has an interesting role in this because they are to represent the voice of all students. So they have to take into account Greek life, which this policy is mainly going to affect, and students that are already following this policy essentially. So their main concern is just trying to make sure all those voices are heard, and also they were questioning as to why the university hadn't come to Student Senate meetings to explain this to them before it was released, and that was their big concern, as well as the unequal representation on the student conduct hearing board.
So we should go to vote December 13th. It'll be sent out hopefully so we can see it, and kind of hope that students, you know, voicing their opinion, but hopefully that the changes made kind of help them too. I want to thank you for joining me today. Kind of come talk this. It's kind of a touchy subject. You know, policy is going into play that hasn't been hasn't been a thing, and now they're bringing it to make sure that all organizations are getting, you know, equal representation, and they're all on the same playing field. They've all got one set of rules to follow. It's kind of like when you play a game. You can't change how you play Monopoly. You got to play it the right way. You know what I'm saying? But I also want to thank all our guests today, Corey, Justin, and Rachel, for coming and talking to us. You can catch Story Behind the Story live on Facebook and KZLX on noon during Student Media Day on Thursdays, or Monday through Thursday at 6:30 p.m. on KNWT Channel 8. I'm Keegan Cooper, and I've been your host. Have a happy holiday and a great new year. We'll see you in January.